Only if he wears a funny hat. Hello to all you patriots out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 259 of Canadian Podcast, the most polite, lowest energy civil grievance podcast in Canada. We're recording on September 14th, 2020. As always, my name is Andrew. Joining me tonight are Gavin and Dave, and we're sorry for disturbing your Monday evening routine.
Yes.
Or not.
But we'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Please feel free to tell us how we've perturbed you in some way.
And check the podcast out at Facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast and on the IGs at Instagram/Canadian Patriot Podcast.
We'd like your help. To support the show, visit Canadian Patriot. Oh, no, that's wrong. We'd like your help. To support the show, visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon today. You might get a better quality version of the show for just $1 an episode, and since we've moved to the 2-show-a-week COVID format, Patreons also get early access to the midweek show. Show that you might be something other than a communist by buying a CPP t-shirt for just $19.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com's homepage and follow the link on the right. And that's as polite as we're being for the rest of the show. We now return you to your regularly scheduled Monday night programming, where I ask, what are you drinking? And I'm going to go clockwise, like usual. Gavin,
I've switched it up a little bit this evening. I am drinking Jack Daniels and Diet Pepsi. You know, getting a little wild and crazy.
Dave, what are you drinking?
I'm like 1.5 fisting. I got Michelob and Captain Morgan's with some Coke Zero. The beer's the half.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm drinking Grumpy Goat from Shakespeare Brewing, because that's what's in the fridge again. Actually, it's pretty good IPA. I'm not at all mad at it. Let's talk about the goings-on of the weekend. The reason for the very polite intro tonight is we had the CCFR Integrity March in Ottawa, of which Gavin and I and at least 800 other people were present.
Well, it would be 798 other people, according to that. There's only 800 total, Andrew.
According to news outlets across Canada.
Yes.
That are paid
off.
Well,
this is okay. So this is funny. So I put some links in the show notes. CTV News, Global News, and CBC News all ran basically the same article on Saturday afternoon.
Oh, you mean the one where they talked about Natalie Provost?
Well, and I think there's some confusion in the gun community from what I have seen on the Facebooks the last couple of days. A key thing that people seem to be missing is this was actually from a staff writer at the Canadian Press, not by a writer at any of those news outlets.
Yeah, and that was my assumption the minute that I started seeing the exact same article popping up in every publication, was that nobody gave a damn about this thing. They didn't think it would be a thing, so it was only some random, independent journalist that happened to write anything, and people figured, well, we should say something, and basically bought their story.
There was a few people on Parliament Hill, so we'll say something.
Yeah.
Well, I find that part pretty funny. So we should talk about that, and then we should talk about some of the discrepancies in the article. So Gavin and I were at the event, and I'm not a large events kind of a person, but I would have estimated when we got there and we were on the hill at 1:00 and I was helping hand out signs, I would have guessed there was between 3,000 and 4,000 people in attendance.
Yeah, and in fact, we had the discussion there, and like you threw out that number, and I kind of thought, and I agreed with your estimate. That was a reasonable estimate. Yeah.
Right, it seems reasonable. So the number that we have from the Canadian Press and the CBC is that there were 800 people in attendance, and the number we have from the CCFR is over 5,000. I'm not sure if it was really over 5,000, but there was easily 3,000 people in attendance, just based on the size of the lawn and the distances at which people were spread out. And looking back at some of the videos and things online, because everybody's social media, everybody in the firearms community is posting and reposting. What's the opposite of like slow-mo video? When they walk by, but like everybody in the whole crowd walked by in like 30 seconds on Colin Saunders' Instagram feed.
Up.
Yeah.
Hyper speed.
Yeah, the opposite of slow-mo is fast-mo. That's still not it.
Yeah, I mean the social distancing kind of made it hard to guesstimate numbers because the crowd size
People
is different.
Were spread out.
But yeah, I would say like at the very low end, 3,000 people, absolutely for sure.
I thought I saw somewhere on Facebook with Tracy yesterday saying something like 3,800 or something like from her official count or something like that. I can't remember.
Well, and I don't know how you have an official count, and that's kind of the thing. So I know that there were people.
Well, the same way that you have official outlaw rules.
Well, okay. So it's a rimfire match. Good. I don't know. I guess maybe Colin that took the Fastmo video of everybody coming back to the hill. Like maybe if you watch that at regular speed, you could actually count. Or maybe they had somebody doing a head count. The way that I looked at it was I helped unload the van that had 200 signs in it that they handed out the official CCFR protest signs. So if in any photo you see 4 people and one of them are not holding a sign, then there are more than 800 people around. That was how I looked at it.
I think somebody took a square, like the picture when you guys were all on the main drag there, and then like zoomed in on one spot and said, so there's 200 people in this square here. So if you multiply that by the whole street and around the corner, that's about 4,000 people, basically, something like that. Yeah,
there is that overhead shot with everybody walking back to the hill, and I could believe that there was over 4,000 people there. I might even believe that there was 5,000 people in attendance by the time that we have all the hangers on and other
late shows,
concerned individuals and so on.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one thing that I heard about that article was that the article was actually published at 12:30 and the event started at 1:00.
I think you're confusing the official tweet where they got the 800 number was from 12:30. Which I don't know why that's the official tweet, because it's just some dude on Twitter tweeting.
It was it was published at 2:19 p.m., which means he had to have already written it at, like you said, noon.
Well,
and then it needs to be edited
and
then
uploaded. Of the we'll talk about the content of the article, because the article has almost nothing to do with the actual event. So most of that article could have been written in advance. Like 97% of that article could have been written in advance, because it's just a speaking piece for Heidi Rathjen. It's not actually about the event at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about the articles more in a moment. I want to talk more about the experience that we had. Gavin and I were there along with our various compatriots, other people that have been on the show before. Angela was there, Marty was there, Matt was there, Tyler from International Liberty or Death was there. There was a whole bunch of people. Sharing Gun Club chartered buses. There were other gun clubs that had come. There were people that came as far away.
Bus.
I talked to people that had come from as far away from Alberta.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess, Rod was there, so BC was represented.
Well, I'm not going to say Rod represents BC, but sure, all right.
But yeah, there was a guy that
there was a lot of our Quebec.
Like Sioux Lookout, and his car even broke down. And then he rented a car or whatever to come the rest of it, just abandoned his vehicle and drove the rest of the way. It's a bunch of people came from, not very close to Ottawa, which is awesome.
Great. And there were lots of people from the National Capital Region and parts of southern Quebec, Montreal and Quebec City. And I don't believe I saw a single East Coaster there, but I'm probably wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I at some point in the March, I did run into some of our friends from the French Connection. So they were represented. So we know you listen. So kudos to you for being there. Thank you.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of our friends from the Quebecois gun owning community there.
Yeah.
And the CCFR did a reasonable job running things. It was very orderly and it was almost apologetic. But there was no violence, there was no property damage. There was no littering. It was very well put together.
Almost as if the protest didn't happen at all.
It's like there were less than 800 people there.
Yeah. Well, less than 800 liberal protesters there, anyways.
Well, and that's about all the criticism that I'm going to give the CCFR, because this was not. I don't understand where everybody was. 2 million gun owners, 2.5 million gun owners in this country. 100,000, 200,000 within a day's drive of Ottawa. And good for the people that showed up, but where are all the other gun owners? Why are you not showing up? And why was this not advertised more widely? The CCFR was advertising it. They talked about it on their podcast. They talked about it a little bit on their social media. There's some articles on their website. And that got picked up and rerun by a couple of gun stores, a couple of other pro-firearms groups. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, but I mean, we've literally read the information that was in the press release. There's going to be a march happening. That's sum total of the information. There's nothing to be excited about. There's nothing to be angry about, just that we're having a protest.
Yeah. Which, I mean, as we've said before, when the CCFR came out with their, we're not going to tell everyone to file a Section 74 challenge. And it's like, we understand that they're a PR thing, and there are certain things that they're not against, but they can't say that they're for. And this kind of falls into that, where they didn't want to get people too fired up and have everyone, ready to riot.
Like this was a good opportunity to, well, not to riot, but I feel like this was a good opportunity to get more gun owners involved and make a public spectacle of this, and have it go on not for 2 hours, but for 6, and have not just the hill, like the front lawn on the hill filled up, but to have all of downtown Ottawa. Because again, like there are easily 100,000 gun owners within an easy 1-day drive of the national capital.
Yeah, it would have been awesome to have had everybody show up and have us just through sheer numbers alone clog the streets, but not in a we're rioting and burning down the city way. Just we're standing here, we're being otherwise peaceful, and showing the government that we're not a small fringe group, but we have numbers.
Well, and I think that's what we should be doing. And again, things that were missed out on, the lack of good public address system. It was very, very difficult to hear the very few remarks that were made by the CCFR organizers. There was basically no ground party. Like, there was nobody leading the events. There was nobody organizing, chanting, or cheering. I could have done without the duck calls or whatever that sad turkey noise was. I don't feel how the world's saddest duck call is not helpful. Like, it doesn't allow us to talk to one another while we're marching, and it doesn't do anything to engender any sort of interest or respect from the observers in Ottawa. It's just annoying people. But to not have any sort of like road captains or anything to organize people going about corners and to make sure people are behaving properly and to have some sort of organized message going out, I'm not terribly thrilled with how the event was run, because it was very, very low energy. It was almost apologetic that we were there and taking up people's time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with any of that, but I mean, hopefully this is the first of many that follow, at least in spirit, where, nothing bad happens, right? It would be nice if we have a few more of these and they keep getting bigger and have more engagement. I don't want to say people get angrier, because that's not what I want. I want people to be there and be energetic and engaged and engaging with people, but not in a negative way, but in a positive way.
That's fair. I want to address a comment from Taxpayer Dave. No, the world's saddest duck call is not the bagpipes that I was talking about, although it would have been nice if they could have played something other than Scotland the Brave. There were people there with duck calls, and they were very, very irritating.
I heard the turkey calls on one video. I was like, what is that? Why is somebody doing turkey calls? What the fuck is going on?
Well, I guess they're trying to represent that hunting is a thing and part of the people. I mean, if all of the buds showed up and blew their duck calls, maybe that would have been a difference, but
yeah, I don't know. On the optics side of things, I think that people actually presented pretty well. We didn't have very many people dressed like Elmer Fudd, which was a pleasant surprise because I expected we would be seeing a lot of Realtree camo and a lot of Blaze Orange.
Yeah.
And that was not the case. Most people were presentably dressed and most people were well dressed. There were a lot of action shooting organizations that were there. The IPSC people with their RO shirts and IPSC competitors with their bicycle jerseys.
Yeah.
Those were well attended. I mean, it fits into the sporting purposes of what we're doing with these firearms.
Oh yeah, it showed their affiliation without doing so in an aggressive manner.
Yeah, it was good to see. There were a couple of Yahoos in plate carriers, although I will note both of the Yahoos that I saw in plate carriers were absent plates. So I'm not sure what they were LARPing as. The other event that was going on in Ottawa at the time was some sort of Harry Potter scavenger thing. So maybe they were in the wrong crowd.
Yeah, maybe they got the timing wrong on the Universal Soldier scavenger hunt that was supposed to be the next weekend.
Right? Were they? I don't remember there being operators in the Harry Potter universe.
No.
I'm on board with. I like what you said about having more marches, though, too. They should definitely try and get this ball rolling. I think it comes down
to the organization again. Like the campground where we were at, which I think was the official campground. I'm going to call it the official campground now, but I think it was like the CCFR recommended campground. I think that was how we found it. It was a place that they recommended.
No, I just Googled. There were two places, and I picked the better of the two.
That was strictly a Gavin thing?
Yeah.
I don't know why we were the only people there. Like, we should have booked that place out, man.
Yeah. The CCFR recommended the Delta and had rates at the Delta for those that wanted to stay at a hotel that was walking distance away. But, Which I can totally get, but why are we not making this a weekend affair? Why are we not having everybody showing up Friday night and having a morning-long rally with speakers from the various organizations or the lawyers from the different legal actions that are currently taking place, or John Lott or some of the other statisticians that are involved in this and write books about what's going on in the country, or having Rod have actual prepared remarks and speaking for half an hour about the event or about what we would like, and rallying the troops, so to speak, like getting people excited and having them want to be involved in this and demonstrating some energy. I'm not saying that we need to be destructive and riot and burn police cars or anything that like Black Lives Matter protesters are going to do, but it was a very weak showing. And I don't know why we didn't take advantage of this and make it a weekend-long affair and have some sort of a convention or symposium or something to that effect where we could make an event. Like if everyone's staying at the Delta, why are we not booking out a conference room at the Delta? If a bunch of people are camping, why are we not putting a PA system and a stage there and having prepared remarks from recognized speakers in our community? It was show up, hand out a sign, 200 people out of 5,000 got their sign to hold, and then go home.
Yeah. Sounds like you should have been running it.
I don't want to run it. That's like we need a. I had a very long conversation
that people didn't understand these basic things that you're going over. You would think that as an organization that I would think is as big as CCFR would have thought of those things, but
I mean, the part of the reason why they took on this was because they knew that if someone else did it,
it would suck even more.
Well, you would have a bunch of people that we maybe don't want to be our key representatives in this.
Yeah, the face or the image that we want to be portraying.
As much as we're kind of speaking negatively to some of the people that did show up, they showed up. So, the Hawaiian shirt wearing Boogaloo boys and all of that did show up.
Again, which there were not many of. And I don't have anything against the people that were wearing Hawaiian shirts. I like the optics of that because it's not camouflage, or you can wear it with your camouflage and it's off-putting and it's garish and it gets attention. And I get that we were not trying to draw individual attention during this event, and that was like the CCFR thing. Don't bring your own signs, dress professionally. And I understand the messaging they were going with. But the jackasses in plate carriers with no plates, and the guys wearing their Hawaiian shirts, and the couple of other people that were dressed in a less professional manner, there is energy there that we need to harness for the public good. And by the public good, I mean our own fucking cause. Because everything is being done by all of these other government-funded or otherwise well-endowed institutions to do everything they can to try and make gun owners seem like ridiculous, evil Nazis. And we're generally speaking not. I'm sure there's a couple floating around, as there are in most groups.
Yeah,
but
especially on the left. But, those people showed up. So, like,
we just need to harness that energy and point them in the right direction. And I don't expect the guys wearing plate carriers with no plates to become like protest organizers. No. But their hearts are in the right place, even if their brains aren't.
They're motivated, right? Like they're there and they're pissed off and they're doing something about it. But if we could get them to just alter their thing slightly or point their energy in a slightly different direction, that would be great. And same with some of the other people.
We just need to harness that for our own purposes.
Yeah.
For like the pro-gun organization purposes, to explain to the government in simple terms that what they're doing is not what Canadians want on the whole. Not to say that Heidi Rathagen and the police event people don't want to have every single firearm in Canada banned and guns never to be seen again in this country, because there are people that want that. But they are not the majority. They're not even the plurality.
Yeah.
Most Canadians don't give a fuck about anything, guns particularly. It doesn't affect them. They don't care.
Yeah,
and
so why are we messing with this?
Another 10% of Canadians own firearms.
Yeah. And even they can't be bothered to.
Well, and that's they can't act in their own best interest. And I'm not saying that everybody from BC or Alberta needs to drive to Ottawa to do this. But look at the number of PAL and RPAL holders. And I would say that even the vast majority of PAL holders are apathetic and don't care about this because they probably only have firearms to hunt with. So they probably... A plurality of PAL holders are probably in favor of banning assault weapons, because you guys see it as often as I do when we're at the range, or when we used to be at the range, and you'd be shooting a scary black AR-15 and somebody would come over and ask you why that wasn't banned, and isn't that an assault rifle, and how could you have that, and why does it have high capacity mags, and all the other bullshit that goes along with that.
And the sad thing is I've even heard that from people that have their RPAL and own pistols but don't own ARs. They're like, oh, why do you need an assault rifle? I don't know. Why do you need a handgun?
Yes.
Why do you need anything? Need is a terrible thing to base any sort of a decision on.
I mean, I need it because it makes me look cool and I like the sound. It's as good a reason as anything else.
Like a bomb.
We need to harness all of that energy and direct it at the right place. And I just
want 50,000 people to show up in Ottawa and make a spectacle for like 2 days.
Yeah, but like
is that so much to ask?
Right? Not the like let's burn this city down spectacle. The like, holy crap, that many gun owners came into one spot at one time and not a single bad thing happened. That kind of spectacle.
Not just that a single bad thing didn't happen, that the media can't ignore it. That I want to shut down major thoroughfares in Ottawa for hours as we march 50,000 people through the street.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to do that, we need people that are prepared and dedicated, and people that have the ability to drive a crowd and energize their base. And while I like what the CCFR is doing with their community education, what the hell's the word for PR? The public relations stuff that they're doing. Yeah. When Tracy and Rod speak to the media one-on-one, when Tracy gets interviewed on AM 1610, it's great. But no one listens to AM 1610. I want you on the front page of the CBC immediately before the slot that used to be occupied by Hockey Night in Canada. I want you on breakfast television so that everyone in Toronto sees your face.
Yeah.
I want the CCFR doing those things because the CCFR is very, very good at one-on-one media discussions, and they're very good at making polished videos that are easy to consume in 3-minute bites on YouTube.
Yeah,
they're not good at public speaking in front of a crowd, and we need somebody to show up that can orate and stand in the front of a beer hall and energize that audience.
Yeah.
We're not getting that. And I don't think there's any political or firearms advocacy group in this country that is capable of doing that. And it's not a slight against the CCFR or any of the other organizations. Yeah. They lack the people with the ability to orate and drive the energy of the masses to work in their own best interest.
Yep. But I mean, I also think that, like, to a certain extent, like, we're also trying to not do some of that stuff because it can go a little bit too far the other way. And if you had a group of, you know, we're kind of damned if we do and damned if we don't. If we had, you know, a large number of people that got, you know, all fired up, even if nothing bad happened, the optic would have been, you know, 50,000 angry gun owners take the streets of Ottawa. You know, like, you can't win. But
I know you can't win, and I'm saying that that's fine. I accept that this is our Kobayashi Maru. We don't win this scenario. There isn't a winning move. The only winning strategy is not to play, except in this case, the War Games analogy doesn't work.
Yeah, we have to.
If we don't play, we definitely lose.
Yeah.
So we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't, and that's fine. I accept that. And we talked about this when we were in Ottawa. The two outcomes from this are the media ignores it, or we get called white supremacist neo-Nazis.
Yep.
The media chose to ignore it.
Yep.
They chose to say there were 8,000 people there. Or, pardon me, they chose to say there were 800 people there.
I wish.
You can't ignore if we had 50,000 people there, even if they were off by the same factor that they were on this time. If we had 5,000 and they reported 800, if we had 50,000, could they report 800?
No, absolutely not.
Sure they could. It's Pravda. They could report whatever they want, and the party will go along with it, and their political masters will think them better for it. But if everyone has this on their social media and all of their non-gun owning friends see it, how does Pravda argue with that when we have 50,000 people and we say that we shut down a major intersection in downtown Ottawa for 4 hours because there were so many people to go through? The only solution they have at that point is to call us neo-Nazi white supremacists, and then we win. Because when you invoke that law and you start calling people Hitler on the internet, you've lost the argument.
Yeah. I mean, except for the fact that we've always been at war with East Asia.
Yeah. Well, tune in for book club this month to find out how long we've been at war with your East Asia.
No one knows.
Yeah. And or the government,
Well, and I want to talk about that while we're on the topic of Pravda. I got two different quotes from the CTV article and the CBC article that are in the show notes. There's a small and key distinction, which Global News picked up on, but neither CTV nor the CBC bothered to. CTV, the government has set up a buyback program to take the guns out of circulation. The CBC, the government is developing a buyback program to take the guns out of circulation. These guns are not being taken out of circulation, gentlemen. I'm sorry, that's not going to be how that works. The government currently has out to tender to 15 different companies to design a buyback scheme. That scheme has not even gone out for tender proper yet.
Yeah.
They're still trying to contract a company to do it. The government has no plan to buy back our now illegal firearms. The half a dozen AR-15s that are in my safe and have been in my safe will remain in my safe because I'm legally not allowed to do anything with them, but I'm sure as shit not selling them back to these assholes whenever they get around to coming up with a buyback program and offering me 10 cents on the dollar for my ARs.
Well, and
Even though the crime rate
conveniently,
in Toronto keeps going up too.
I mean, conveniently, whenever the RCMP or the government and, you know, the head of the government, Trudeau, speaks in public about all of this, they conveniently forget to mention that in the Ordering Council itself, buried in the bottom, is grandfathering. I don't know who in their right mind is going to take the buyback? Grandfather.
There'll be people that'll do it.
Like I said, I don't
Those
know
people
anyone
probably
in their
shouldn't have
right
had the
mind.
firearms in the first place.
Yeah.
Well, and then I don't disagree with the right mind, but I don't. Those people are not gun owners in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
They are very much like the example I drew earlier of PAL holders that have PALs to shoot at Bambi once a year because they think that they're hunters. They're not firearms owners. They're not patriots. They're someone who wants to hunt. And I hold no animosity against those people. Hunting, obviously, not my thing. But I don't do that. I don't need to do that. I buy my meat in a grocery store, and I'm okay with where my meat comes from because I used to work on a cattle farm. I'm not opposed to buying steaks from the grocery store. I get that some people want to shoot at Bambi, and that's what they do for fun or recreation or to put food on the table, and I have no problem with that. But I think the vast majority, at the very least a plurality of those individuals, don't give a flying fuck when it comes to handguns or so-called assault rifles.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we support them in their ability to hunt, and their ability to hunt like as they get older with, you know, more modern firearms that would make it easier for them. But they don't support us.
I have very little patience for people who own guns for the wrong reasons.
Right.
To answer a couple of questions for Fraser, were there any anti-gun protesters? Not really.
There were some other weird protesters, but like that's Parliament Hill for you.
Yeah, there was like what was that group that was at the front gate there? It was like the Palestinian People's Front or something. They wanted
something like that.
Human rights in Palestine.
There was the anti-abortion religious people. There was that other group that was camped out at the war memorial, like that was, you know, supporting our thing, but also trying to push their agenda, which I'm not really sure what it was. They were trying to hand out pamphlets and get us to attend their thing that they have later in the month, I think. I don't know. I didn't really pay attention.
So I would say there were not anti-gun protesters. There was at one point where I was walking where we made the turn. I don't have the street names in front of me, but there's a pedestrian-only street, one street over from Parliament, that we were walking on. And if you give me a moment, I will look it up. I think Parliament is on Wellington Street. Is that right?
Yes.
So what's
it's whatever
the
that
street
pedestrian?
The
it's
street
where the CDC has their
Sparks Street, I think.
Sure, I'll allow it.
So where we made the turn to go back to Parliament Hill and Wellington Street, I think the street that we turned on is O'Connor. I think it was O'Connor. Sparks and O'Connor, I think. Don't quote me on
Sparks
that.
is the thing, and then I'm looking at a map right now, and whatever 17B is, it's not giving me a street
17B.
name.
That's okay. Well, there was a small number of youth in black outfits and skateboards that were yelling derogatory things, but they literally just skateboarded by and then like kept going, and there was a dozen of them or whatever.
I don't think that was a plan thing. I was just that was punks on skateboards just being punks on skateboards.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about that. So I wouldn't say that there were counter protesters. There were no obvious snipers on the roofs.
Yeah, I didn't see any. I was looking for them, but I didn't. I
mean, it was also a Saturday, and RCMP wasn't there. It was just Parliamentary Protective Service. It wasn't actual RCMP. Yeah. So the Parliament is also not currently in session, so it would not surprise me if there was not like, there's like a TAC team on standby or something because it's a weekend. But
and I mean, with all the construction going on too, there was like a giant board, like wooden board thing set up too that was blocking most of the Parliament buildings to begin with. So
yeah, you couldn't get up to center block there.
Yeah,
but I don't know. It was a thing. We went. We did it. It was.
Yeah, I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad people showed up.
as with everything else, no one can say that we didn't try to do all the things. We wrote letters, we contacted MPs, we protested peacefully.
Yeah.
We're following all of the required things that we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. On an unrelated note,
our
if anyone is selling a Komatsu bulldozer or other brand, if you email the show feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com, let us know what you want for it.
I may know some people.
Completely unrelated releases. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about how we're going to fund that bulldozer. Let's get into some news. I've only got two. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've only got three things. One of them is kind of a double header. First one is guaranteed basic income tops policy priorities for Liberal caucus. This is on CTV News.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
They misspelled
Augusto.
vote buying.
Get the helicopters.
Yeah.
The communists are up to no good.
I
That's really all I take from this. So obviously the government is currently prorogued. They'll be going back into the House for the throne speech next week, the 23rd of September. So that'll give us lots to talk about on the 28th when we do a show.
What do they approximately cover in the throne speech? What are they just going over what their plans are for next year or something? Like what is it about?
Effectively, yeah, it'll be the plan for the next session of Parliament, the highlights, if you will.
The bullet points.
Yeah, it'll be a very high-level plan of what the government's actions for the next session of Parliament will cover. It's super high level.
And has Mr. Singh already said he's supporting this bullshit?
Well, kind of, sort of, not exactly. This is an interesting place. This is not yet party policy. The Liberals are going to be having a policy convention in the middle of November, where they'll debate and vote their various party resolutions. Although guaranteed basic income has been identified as the highest priority item on the list of policies to be discussed during the convention, the Liberals are currently in a state of it's not public input, but I guess it's party input. So anyone who's a member of the Liberal Party at this point should have gotten a survey where you can select what all the various platform points are and order them. I think there's like 9 or 12, and you have to put the ones that you want in order, and you have to select all of the options. So if there's, I forget what it is. If there's 9 options, you have to put a choice in each. Yeah, I got mine. I mean, allegedly, I would have gotten mine if I were a party member.
Yeah.
So you had to select you could read through your various resolutions, and you could pick your 9 or whatever it was, but you had to pick all 9. And you had to rank them in order of importance. And this has apparently been identified as a top priority for the Liberal government, is going to be implementing some sort of universal basic income.
All the people that are there's, so many people lost their jobs. Where do they think all this tax money is going to come to pay for this? But I know that everybody on the left and their constituents just basically think money grows on trees, obviously. So it's just going to come from thin air. They're just going to keep throwing money around because
I think part of that Friday. Is yes. I think that's part of the case, is that it's a reaction to. It's a reaction to what was the COVID benefit? It's not called UBI. It was something else.
CERB.
Thank you. It's a reaction to CERB ending because they can't keep extending the CERB program. So there's an option. I think this is their option to keep that money flowing to people that were impacted. I think politically, in terms of political analysis, this is also a really good vote buying scheme that takes voters that would otherwise vote for the NDP. Remember, the Orange Crush want to give everybody actual communism, like Marxist-Leninist communism, like real communism, big C.
Yeah.
This is a way for the Liberal Party to steal those voters. Well, to buy those voters, really. It's not theft. I mean, it kind of is because it's my money, but it's an opportunity for the Liberal Party to gain not hardcore NDP voters to vote for the Liberal Party, because the gravy train is just going to keep flowing under the Liberals. That's the plan with this. Like some sort of universal basic income, replacing the COVID benefits and whatever else is going to be a way to homogenize the leftist votes to go for the Liberal Party. And if I were a very smart conservative, much smarter than Aaron O'Toole, if I were a very smart conservative, I would put this in my gay big tent conservatism platform for the Conservative Party with a big fucking asterisk at the end of all other social welfare is fucking canceled.
Yeah. You can't get,
because if I were a big tent conservative, if I were a big tent conservative, I would be on this fucking train too, because it's a smart move politically with the climate right now. The difference is if I was a smart fucking conservative, I wouldn't be in government, but if I were, I'd be using it to scrap every other social welfare program that exists and downsize Service Canada, because I don't need that many people to administer one program. So, Whoever works for Aaron O'Toole's party that's listening, you can go ahead and take that one. That's a freebie. The next one will cost you.
Yeah. Here's your paycheck. Do with it what you will. You'll get nothing more, nothing less.
I mean, I'd be okay with them getting something less.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'd be okay with them getting nothing and them getting a fucking job, but, you know.
To quote one of my... Yeah, to quote one of my favorite characters, I would be fine with them getting nothing at all. Nothing at all.
I got another listener feedback, and I'm afraid maybe you guys know this one. I don't know what it is. From Annette. It's the highest on the list because it's the start of just Sarah Trump is putting in place.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess
don't know why that makes it on the list.
The next comment I guess she has is the global reset, which I guess people are talking about, and all the politicians are using that as a way to re-equalize things on a racial, gendered, and whatever other.
Oh, did you say racial? Oh boy, do I have stories for you?
Uh-oh.
I got two twofers coming up. First one. SpencerFernando.com. Liberals continue to divide by race. Haiju announces mental health funds only available for Black Canadians. I had to read that a couple of times a bit slower when I saw it the first go round. So I started doing my Googles, as a good pundit does.
Probably have mental health issues.
Well, I figured like it's Spencer Fernando.
Where did they get this from?
Well, it's Spencer Fernando, so like he's pretty right leaning.
Yeah.
I don't know how much stock I put him because he's not per se a journalist. So I started looking, and yeah, this is a thing, but it's not in any of the national news coverage that I can find on any major outlet, except on the local section of the CBC in Kitchener-Waterloo. Because I guess the local idiot that writes for the CBC in Kitchener was dumb enough to name names, even though nobody at the national editor's desk let it get by. This is from the CBC local Kitchener. Researchers say federal mental health funding is welcome news for Waterloo region. Let's get into these. This is an announcement that came from Health Minister Patty Haiju earlier this week. Or, pardon me, late last week, I suppose. September the 10th. That'd be last Thursday? Yeah, last Thursday. I'll read the excerpt from the government announcement, and then we'll get some hot takes. The government of Canada has committed $19 million to enhance local community supports for youth at risk and support more culturally focused mental health programs for Black Canadians. As part of this investment, the Public Health Agency of Canada is confirming today $4.9 million for projects through the Promoting Health Equity Mental Health of Black Canadians Fund, or MHBC, to better support the mental health and well-being of Black Canadians.
So
I'm
I
not
guess
a university professor, but sounds a lot like racism to me. I don't know. Call me crazy.
yeah.
I
mean, I
mean,
guess,
if you give
everyone
special
but
treatment to one group based on the color of their skin, and you define that as racism, then yes.
well, it's
In
not
my
even so
mind,
much that you
this would be a racist policy.
it's not even so much that you give one group something based on the color of their skin. You also are denying several groups based on their
Yes,
color of their
That's
skin.
what I wanted
in
to
this
say. I was
case,
like, what about
literally
everybody
everyone
else?
who is not black.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing
And also-
I kind of like this in the fact that, they are now marginalizing everyone else. So maybe they're going to piss off some voters that would have
I don't
normally.
think they are. I think that there's so many social signally liberals that this is so good for the black community, though. Don't you know
But how are they
oppressed
going
the
to
black
draw
community
that,
is? This is
that
gonna be
distinction?
this is gonna be so good for the black community. There's all these people in downtown Toronto that need all this help. Don't you know how oppressed they are?
But what about if you're half black, are you going to get it? A quarter black?
Well, then
where are
you
we
get
going
half
to draw
the
that?
funding.
Where are we going to draw the line?
Well, in Gavin's case, you get 2% as per your DNA test.
Excellent. Perfect. Because that's literally what it's going to come down to. Because it's like,
Oh no, this is going to be ripe with fraud. If I was going to defraud the government, I'd start with this program because there's no way I identify as black or whatever, or you're going to have somebody that's going to have parents from different ethnicities, and they're going to be like, "Well, I'm a Canadian of African origin," which is not technically incorrect because they're going to be like a 1/16th somebody from like South Africa, like 200 years ago or something.
Yep. Yeah, that's what makes the whole thing. Either give it to everyone, or don't give it to anyone.
Yeah, why not just focus on mental health?
Let's be clear though. Well, so this is about mental. This program, this funding is about mental health, but it's going to
for everybody.
It's going to specific groups that have target audiences. Is how they're doing this. So it's not just that like the government is saying you have to be black to get this money. The government is saying there are these I think it's 19 different organizations which predominantly serve what's the new buzzword BIPOC communities,
Biosphere?
Black, Indigenous, and persons of colors.
Sure. BIPOC.
So you have to be somebody who's getting funding from TIABU or the Black Health Alliance or the Women's Health in Women's Hands Community Health Center in downtown Toronto, or the Black Creek Community Health Center also in Toronto. Actually, that one's really close to Jane and Finch. Or the Barbados Association of Winnipeg, or some other place like this. It sounds a lot like systemic racism, if you ask me, but I'm just a bald white guy on the internet. What do I know?
Say, way to perpetuate the the stereotype. You know what I mean? I don't know. That's all it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at the idiots from Waterloo that were dumb enough to say something publicly about this. So the government's announcing it's going to invest $11.5 million in organizations across the country to promote mental health and mental wellness in its communities. Bunch of money for funding, bunch of money to go towards health care, bunch of money to go towards mental health, so on and so forth. There's a place in Waterloo at the University of, I think it's at Laurier. It's called the Knowledge Development and Exchange Hub, and it's at Renison University College at University Waterloo. And this group provides funding and support in various forms to Indigenous communities, refugees, new immigrants, and persons in the LGBTQ community. Now, I'm not trying to put people in boxes here, but I don't see anywhere where the KDE sub says that they have specific programs for Black Canadians. I feel like we may have missed a key aspect of giving money to this particular organization.
Misses the mark on every single one of them.
Just a hair. So the spokesperson for the Knowledge Development and Education Hub said that these investments are about creating the conditions in the first place for positive mental health for individuals and communities. But they don't do anything to explain how they actually plan to get positive outcomes from this funding.
I was going to say, like, how is this actually going to happen?
Oh,
what are you
it doesn't
actually
say.
going to
It
do
just,
with this money?
that's not a quote in the. It doesn't
I know.
say.
I mean, it's just make it rain, right? Here's some money. Throw it at the
That's-
problem.
Well, the 20 problems. The KDE hub at the KDE hub at Waterloo supports 20 projects and works with various organizations across the country. I don't know what the government. Actually, that's not true. I would prefer to not know what the government is thinking. But if I put on my not very tight tinfoil hat, I'm going to say the government is vote buying based on race.
That
and
liberal government?
More so than that. Well, yes, that liberal government, but also just like strictly looking at the demographics. There are not enough black voters in the country for this money to matter. Every black Canadian could vote liberal, and it still wouldn't be enough to form a plurality for a government. They still wouldn't, like, that's not a big enough voting block for them to get a majority. They still need other partisan groups to support their government in order to form a governing party. So even if they bought off every black vote in the country, which I don't think they could do, but hypothetically, if they could, the demographics don't support it. There's not enough black Canadians for them to buy them off and for it to work out in a meaningful way in terms of the voting outcome. Because we're still doing first past the post in the way the ridings are.
Except all of the people that have white guilt will also be voting for them.
That's where I'm going with this. That is exactly my point. Is that is the votes they are truly buying is the upset motherless wine drinkers, or childrenless wine drinkers. I guess they would have mothers. The middle-aged women with no kids who are looking for a social welfare project because they need to do something to support the community.
Oh,
these people just need more help.
The ones that don't have children, it's going to be a bunch of people that have.
Well, but that's what I mean. It's going to be middle-class white people.
Nobody complains about black racism, like racism done to blacks, as much as uppity white people that have nothing to do with the argument and have zero say in it because they don't know one way or the other. But here they are going on about how black people are offended when they haven't even bothered to talk to them, probably don't even know any.
This is my theory: is they are buying off well-to-do white people's votes because those white people have some sort of media-induced social guilt because of systemic racism and oppression over the last 1,000 years or whatever. I think those are the votes they're buying with this money, and for $200 million, not a bad investment. Again, as strictly political analysis, pretty good bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Do another one. This is another excellent, definitely not racist government action. First one's on CTV News. Trudeau announces cash for loans support to black Canadian entrepreneurs. And the other one, Trudeau announces new loan program for black entrepreneurs as Singh calls for action against systemic racism. And that one's on the CBC.
I wonder if that Singh has ever actually experienced systemic racism.
Well, that's how he's become the leader of a national minority party.
He's very
because of all the
by,
systemic
obviously.
racism. That's how we got the guy in the funny headgear running a political party in this country.
Yeah, pretty much.
Definitely because of all the systemic racism.
Again, there's like a whole bunch of other groups that probably want to be entrepreneurs. And
Well, and the argument for this is that so it's not strictly government money. There's $220 million programs being jointly funded between the federal government and 8 major financial institutions. The government's kicking in $93 million. The banks and I think one credit agency are picking up the rest. It's RBC, BMO, Scotia, CIBC, National Bank, TD, Vancity, and Alterna Saving. So they're putting all the money together. They're going to use a bunch of this money to make the loans easier to get. And they're using a bunch of this, I think, as backing against the loans. It's a little unclear in the articles how Ottawa is doing this, because it says that Ottawa is deploying $33 million, and also the program is receiving $93 million in federal funding, and then $128 million from other financial institutions. So, like, that doesn't quite sum up to the 221 the right way. I don't quite follow.
That's not
the government's also pledging another $53 million to go towards helping entrepreneurs access this money. So the government and various financial institutions are coughing up $220 million in funding. And then another $50 million to get them access to the funding.
Can someone define that?
And
like,
then,
what the fuck does that mean?
I don't see how they
don't know.
Walk into your bank and go get the fucking loan. Like, what do you mean access the funding?
Yeah,
Like,
maybe they're going to pay their Uber fare to get them to the bank to apply for the, like.
Well, let me read the statement here. It says, another $53 million from the federal government will go towards helping entrepreneurs access funding, capital, mentorship, financial planning services, and business training, while $6.5 million will go to support collecting data on the state of Black entrepreneurship in Canada. So it's a $220 million program, of which the federal government's kicking in at least $93 million, and then another further $53 million to get people access to the program, and then another $6 million to determine how it's doing.
It'd be interesting to see how many
understand how that works.
All I know is I'm going to be putting my 2%ness to work, and I'm going to be getting a loan and my mental health looked at.
You should. Absolutely. If you're listening to this show and you can find a way to take advantage of either of these programs, I 100% encourage you to comply completely within the bounds of law and morality to do that and get your between $25,000 and $250,000 forgivable entrepreneurship loan so that you're able to overcome the systemic racism in this terrible country and build up a better economy or something so that I have somewhere to work in the future.
Does forgivable mean that if you default on it, nothing happens?
It is free money.
If you take the loan out to start up a business and the business flops, you don't got to give it back.
I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start an Uber with high-end vehicles.
No, Dave's got the best. Dave's already onto a great idea. I'm going to buy a really good camera and a Ferrari and hire a bunch of good-looking women, and I'm just going to produce YouTube videos, and that's going to be my business. I'm not even going to sing. I'm just going to make the videos.
That's it.
Nice. Yeah, I
See
think
Canada through my eyes.
I'm going to buy some nods. And that's about it, really. Those things are crazy expensive.
What are you going to do with the rest of the? What are you going to do with the other 240,000?
I'm going to get a really good set, like a really good set. Maybe some guns, guns and ammo.
Yeah, like the six model. Yeah.
Like the really good ones. And then I'm going to offer to take people through the woods at night, but I've got the only set. And if that business fails, then that's rough. But that's how it goes, right?
I give. Who cares? Who gives a fuck?
I want to read 2 other quotes in this article because they are spectacular. Nadine Spencer, president of Black Business and Professional Association, called Wednesday's announcement a, quote, game changer for Black business owners who have struggled for access to capital and loans. I unfortunately only know how to do up-talky white voices and whiny effeminate male voices. I don't know what an empowered Black businesswoman sounds like, so I'm just going to read it as written.
Yeah,
quote,
you don't want to do that. You'll get called a racist if you tried to do that.
I always say that the biggest challenge black business owners face is that they are black.
Can you read that one more time?
I
you're being
always say
facetious.
that the biggest challenge black business owners face is that they are black.
In Canada.
Apparently. It's not like government regulation or the difficulty in licensing or the difficulty in all of the various agencies that are involved in running a business or the compliance standards for health and safety or the environment or the access to capital. It's the skin color of the peoples that are starting businesses.
I want to start this business. Why aren't you giving me the money? It's basically...
That's okay.
Yeah.
It gets better. It gets better. Merrill, Africa.
That sounds made up.
Merrill,
Continue.
Africa. President of the Canadian Association of Urban Financial Planners said it's reassuring to see the promise come with a price tag. Mr. Africa says, quote, "It's better than what we've had in the past, so I think it's a good start as it's a good way to gauge whether or not it's going to be enough." What? You're the head of a financial planning
Professionals.
group, guild, something? Some sort of an organization of financial planners, and you don't know if... What?
You see, the money grows on trees, right? And the trees haven't been producing lately. So...
No kidding.
We've been banking on this. Don't ruin our
I
party.
really have very little commentary around this. These articles are just like abhorrent. They are just... It is absolute political... I don't even know what the best word to describe this with is. Like, it's...
My only thing is I can
just
say I'm
vote
glad
by
the
it.
numbers are in the millions and not the billions. That's about the only thing I can say at this point. Pretty much.
None of these programs, much like the government, should exist.
The fact that they do is ridiculous and shows how
Oh, it's
Hong
super
Kong we
ridiculous.
are.
Oh, it's super ridiculous. And our government is not serious, and this is going to do nothing to address racism. We're going to spend $220 million to give black businesses...
If anything, it's going to make it worse because you're only driving people apart. Because now you have animosity. Why don't I get why am I not getting a loan? Why am I not getting this?
Well,
this,
better
and
you're
this?
going to have a bunch of businesses that are owned by black people on paper, but aren't actually, to take advantage of all of these stupid programs.
You're not talking about like businesses like Def Jam Record.
Yeah, I'm talking about all kinds of businesses that exist out there and have like fake ownership. I mean,
there are a number of rap labels which are ostensibly owned by
not
urban entrepreneurs, but
Yeah.
are definitely not run by those same individuals.
Yeah. Their names are probably a little bit more Yiddish.
I'm with Focus 787 here. Money printer go brrr.
Like I said, at least it's millions and not billions at this point. It's about the only.
Well,
good
I mean,
thing
I guess in this
this
case, it's not really money printer. It's like vote buying printer go brrr.
Yeah. The votes are coming in. Brr.
All right. If you'd like to get the appropriate attire for our next political demonstration in Ottawa, you should get an official Big Luau shirt from Amazon. Remember, you use our affiliate link in the show notes to buy anything on Amazon. It doesn't have to be the very stylish Hawaiian shirt, men's all over scenic camp party aloha holiday beach shirt. Man, that is a mouthful. But hey, what do you want? For $20, it's 100% polyester, and it comes with real coconut buttons. Also, definitely a fire hazard. Don't stand near open flames.
Yeah, so actually, I tested this on Friday, when I stopped in to see our good friends at Grey Fox Strategic. The booze is hitting my lips. It's making it hard to talk. We tried heat. Heat didn't really do anything, but yeah, absolutely do not expose it to an open flame because that shit will melt like that.
What's
But
that?
still very... No, yeah, I'm getting them to make me a holster with matching fabric. But do not expose to open flame because it melts and melts fast.
It's that polyester,
Yeah,
bro.
100% polyester, bro.
Yeah.
One
So
hundo.
remember, if you use our affiliate link, we get a portion of that. We get a little kickback. If you're not sure about the affiliate link, you need to go to our website and open a copy of a show. It doesn't matter which show. Since we've been Amazon affiliates, go to like the most recent show, scroll down to the section labeled shilling, and click on the link that says official Big Luau shirt. That'll take you to Amazon. Or you can go to bigluau.biz. That's right, bigluau.biz. Thank you to Younger Andrew for setting that up for us, and click through there. The trick is you just need to click through our link and then purchase your stuff on Amazon, and then we get a portion of that revenue through the affiliate program. I want to thank everybody for doing that because Diapers last month was fully funded by our Amazon purchasers. Thank you for that. We'll go around the virtual table here. Gavin, where can everybody find you on the internet?
As of right now, the only place you can find me on the internet is on the Instagrams, Urbix_GTA.
For now.
Still no Book of Faces, eh?
No, not yet. I'm going to fix that tomorrow. Stay tuned for my stock account.
Dave, where can everybody find you?
Find me at the IGs as well, Diesel6223, for all my competition goodness. Oh, cat.
We have... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
We have to apologize to Rod Giltaka. He could not make the show. He was flying back to beautiful British Columbia today. So we had a little scheduling conflict due to the reduced amount of air travel with COVID. Rod could not be on the plane and on the podcast at the same time. We wish him safe travels back to BC. And we hope to get Rod on the show next week. We also want to remind you that we value your opinion. If you'd like to be part of our listener feedback specials, that's the first Wednesday of every month. You can send your feedback to feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Let us know what you think. Let us know how you're offended. Let me know why you think you're entitled to $250,000 of forgivable loan from the government while I'm not, based on the color of my skin. Or hit us up on social media. I don't really check Facebook, and now that Gavin caught a ban, you're probably just talking to a wall. But that's cool too, man. If you've listened to the show this long, you deserve a discount code. Go to RagnarokTactical.ca and use the discount code Patriot at checkout. That will save you some money. And as always, $10 flat rate shipping on everything, unless I can do it cheaper. Because that's how we do.
Even for plates?
Yeah, I will ship a set of body armor anywhere in the country for $10, man.
Plates. There you
I'm
go.
not
Get your
proud.
plates.
I need the money. I got to put my kid through school someday.
Plates. Get them.
Yeah, buy some body armor for reasons that
may
maybe
need
become
them sooner
important
than you
someday in
think.
the future.
Yeah, you may need them sooner than you think. Who knows?
Don't show up to protests wearing plate carriers with no plates. How about that?
Yeah, there's no excuse. We gave you the discount code already.
At least put some foam in there to make it look like you've got them in there.
Put some level 3s in or something.
Anything at all. For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are the true North. Strong and free.